Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Caw. I'm delighted to be joined by Record Sports Scott McDermott. Scott, how's it going?
I'm not bad, Daniel. Yourself?
I'm very good, thanks. And I'm even better to say I'm joined all the way from Celtic Park by the one and only Michael Gannon. Mick, how's it going?
I'm good, chaps. Yeah, I'm just got a bit of shade. It's absolutely glorious out here tonight. I caught a bit of sun this afternoon there. My beak's looking a bit red.
It's like you're back in Como all over again.
It is. It's just like Parkhead and Tollcross is just like Como. It is.
Saw that golf you're playing, Mick. Saw that golf.
It's not helping my game, Scotty. That's for sure. I'd be as well caddying.
You're obviously there, Mick, ahead of the game tonight. Celtic, massive game against Kairat Almaty. I don't even know where to start with this. I mean, Celtic won as favourites, don't they? I think
Absolutely.
That's beyond.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, the whole kind of narrative around Celtic being weaker than last season, which is true. Not getting the key signings was also true. But take all that away as one side, because Celtic should still have enough to beat Kairat Almaty. Listen, it's a dangerous tie, because it's every tie is dangerous at this stage. Any kind of cup ties is going to have an element of danger. But Celtic should have enough to see this out. I mean, the draw has been fairly kind to them. I think, obviously, you get the logistical challenge of the second leg, but I think it gets lost in the wash that Kairat had to come here as well. They had an 11-hour flight to come here. The kickoff's going to be 8 o'clock local time, which is for them, midnight back home. They don't have time to acclimatise. Obviously, the climate here is about 35 degrees. Not going to be easy for them this heat. Maybe getting water breaks and all that stuff. So, but listen, this is a tie Celtic have to negotiate. Because the flip side is, if they don't get through these 2 legs and get to Champions League, there's going to be hell to pay. I mean, as I say, I think there should be enough to see them through this tie anyway, no matter what. But if they don't, the narrative's already been set. Celtic are weaker. They haven't tooled up properly for this tie. They're taking a massive gamble by not doing so, by waiting until the last week and a half of the window. So the pressure is on, and the pressure I don't think will be on the manager as such. I think instead of don't negotiate this tie, it is on the board, and you'll see a backlash. But I do think they'll get the strength to see it through. And I think tonight, the first leg is going to be tonight. It's going to be absolutely vital. I think Celtic have got to get a lead to take there, purely because of the logistical challenges, as I mentioned. Yeah, you're flying across time zones. It's 11 hours in the air. It's not easy. It really isn't. And we've seen teams out there struggle. I mean, pretty much everyone struggles out there coming from this side of Europe. So they need to go there by a lead to protect. I think Kairat, they're quite a defensive team as well. I think it'll be quite like a lot of Premiership games, to be honest with you. I think Celtic will be used to it. What they can't afford to do is a bit like, I mean, last Friday I thought they played well against Falkirk, but the first half they had about 12 shots on goal to get their first goal. They can't miss 12 chances to get one. They need to be clinical, they need to be lethal, and they need to get a lead. They need to be 2 or 3 up, I think, to go there to be a bit more comfortable. Even in saying that, having been to these places before in second legs with a 5-goal lead, and it's not been comfortable. But I think if they get a good couple of goals, they'll be safe to see it through.
We've got some comments coming in already. If you want to get involved in the conversation, please do so. We'll try and read your comments out. Before we go any further, Mick, Singing the Blues says, is Michael Gannon wearing a comic relief nose?
I did say, didn't I? I did say my nose got a bit of a bump today. Wait a bit. Listen, us strawberry blondes, it's not easy in these conditions.
More serious comments in the comment section. Stephen says, I'd start with Engels in midfield with Negren on the right wing. I think Forrest would be more effective coming on for the last 20 minutes on either wing. We're still waiting on team news, Mick, but...
I don't agree with that point. I think this is a night for Negren. I think because he brings more of a goal threat. I think we've seen it in the domestic games. I think he gets in the box. He's even early in his career, he's had a lot of chances. He's scored. Unlucky not scoring in the first game of the season. I think he might be the one to start, just because he's a bit more of a presence in the penalty area, and the Celtic lacking a wee bit in the kind of forward areas. I think he'd be important to do that. Engels, I think if you get a couple of goals ahead, bring him on and keep it solid. But then Engels is a proven operator at this level as well. So I think I wouldn't be too surprised if he is getting the nod. But I just think Negren is a bit more dynamic in that final third, so he might get the nod. I think James Forrest would nailed on to start, to be honest with you, rather than keep him on the bench. I think Celtic need to get at this team early. An early goal which changes the complexion completely. I don't think you really want to be chasing the last 20 minutes. But yeah, so I think Forrest would be expecting to start, and I think Negrin might get the nod while ahead of Ingles.
What I mean, John in the comments says Celtic need to take a big lead over to the second leg, 3 goals plus at least. I mean, I know Celtic are favourites, but what do I know about Kairat? But that seems a little bit ambitious to me.
No, I've tipped it 1-4-0 tonight.
I just remembered that.
And listen, I was in Almaty when they went with a 5-goal lead, and we were sitting at half time, and it was one each, so it's 6-1 in aggregate. And the words were all written, the feet was out, the cigars were out, the work was done. And then 20 minutes later, it was 4-1, it was 6-4 in aggregate, and everyone's hair was on fire. It was a horrendous evening. There's pages getting ripped out and intros getting redone, you name it. And then they scored a couple of late goals and it all looked pretty relaxed, but it wasn't. For half an hour, it was absolute chaos. And I think that's what they want to avoid. I do think they need a lead right enough. I think if they go there with a 1 or 2 goal lead, that could be a bit edgy going out there. And they're going to be lethargic in the second leg. I don't care what anyone says. It's impossible to climatise used to the time zones out there. It's going to be difficult. I remember seeing Scotland going out there, and they tried to stay on UK time, and they had all the SWOT signs, and it looks like they're half asleep. They gubbed, remember?
That's right.
So I think a 3-goal lead would be shooting par. Back to my golfing talk again.
I think 3 will be the target, Mick.
Yeah.
I think the back of Brendan Rodgers' mind, he'll think 3 goals at home or a 3-goal lead should be enough to see them through. And I tipped that myself in the paper, 3-0. I just think Celtic, you touched on it, a fast start is crucial in these games. If this team do take a bit of time to settle with the terms of the conditions and the travel and stuff, you need to try and hit them early. But if as a Celtic fan, I'd be encouraged by that, because I think Celtic are renowned for that, especially in Europe, being able to start games quick. I mean, it's like the opposite on the other end of the city with Rangers. They seem to start so slowly, but Celtic are good at getting out the traps, putting teams under pressure early on. And I think if they can get a goal early, get a real foothold in the game, then I don't think 3 goals or a 3-goal lead is beyond them. And I think if they get that, I know what you're saying, it is tricky getting over there. It always seems to be. You're always kind of surprised just how difficult it is for teams going there. You probably can underestimate it, but I think if they get a 3-goal lead, it would be just enough, but it should be enough to see them through. And I think it just takes the pressure off a wee bit, obviously, with Ibrox coming up after that second leg.
Yeah, and I also think that kind of lead with this current team we sort of got, I think they're good on the counter. So I think if it forced Almaty to come out in the second leg, I think they'd be dangerous in the counter attack as well. So I think they would be more comfortable than previous years. And remember, I think they went there. They didn't have a defensive partnership. That year either. I think it was Near Beaton was playing centre half or something like that, or
He always did
alongside. I think it was Ewan O'Connell, wasn't it? 18-19 time. I think it was a pretty much a kind of makeshift backline for that one. This time they've got a pretty settled defence with guys in there who Carter Vickers, Kieran Tierney, Arthur Johnson. I mean, top class professionals who won't freak out if things get a bit dicey. So yeah, I think if they can get ahead in this tie here, I think that they should be able to see it out. But I mean, the only thing is you don't really want to be chasing this getting into the last 20 minutes with nothing each or 1-0. I think that's a dangerous period. Going all guns blazing in the last 20 minutes when you've got to remember, this is the thing about Celtic. This is where the recruitment could come back to bite them on the backside, because Kieran Tierney's not played 90 minutes yet. So at 70 minutes he's going to go off. You're going to Liam Scales going to left back, but probably bringing on Trusty. You're going to have Yang coming on for James Forrest, because it's doubtful he can do 90 minutes, especially if it's tight and need him next week. Adam Eder hasn't played 90 minutes yet either. So then you're bringing on Johnny Kenny, who, with all due respect, isn't that level. Or Shin Yamada, who we just don't know about at all. So all of a sudden, when you start making changes after an hour, the team I think it's strong enough when it starts to get that lead and all that stuff. But when you get to that point, you might see problems, I think, because then you're looking at having to put guys out of position. You might have to play guys like Luke McCown at wide left, or you might have to put some Negrin at wide right and bring something. All of a sudden, you're moving the jigsaw puzzle around and it's not quite as fluent. So I think that's a danger. So again, I go back to what Scott says. I think they need to go out all guns blazing and get up in the head early.
And we can see, we've got the story on Record Sport Online today about Michel-Ange Balikwisha. Apparently he's close to sign. Celtic have reportedly agreed a £4.5 million fee. Sorry, go on, Mick. What were you going to say?
Honestly, I've written saying that much. Is it his testimonial he's getting? This is testimonial?
He's been talking about for a while. I think that's fair, eh?
Honestly, I think if I'm struggling to sleep in the plane going to Almaty next week, I can read about his transfer saga.
But I thought it was interesting, Mick, in Brendan Rodgers' press conference where he said he's very confident he's got the players to win this tie, but not for the Champions League group stage, or for the league stage, rather.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think he's stating the obvious.
Aye.
I mean, I think we can all agree on that. I think Celtic should have enough to win this tie, but they don't have enough to win the Champions League for the reasons I've already mentioned. I think they're strong. I think listen, Celtic are not in crisis, right? They're not falling to bits. They're not in a state and all that stuff, right? They've got a pretty good squad, but they're lacking in key areas. We know they need wide players. They know they need options up front. Made some strange signings. I mean, I think Yamada and Inamura, very weird signings. Callum Osman might be one for the future, or a B team guy, I don't know. But some strange ones. They do need quality in key areas, and so they're lacking. So when things start to go a wee bit off track, i.e. injuries or people pulling up or suspensions, they're going to be caught short. So they need to tool up. So I think Rodgers knows this. He's been saying it. He's been saying this for months. He's been saying it since February that this team needs refreshed and needs quality. Hasn't replaced Kyogo, hasn't replaced Kuhn, hasn't replaced Jota. That's facts. They'll need replaced in the next 12 days left the window, 13 days left, 12 days left the window. I think they will. I think they will right enough.
And the key thing about that for me is Brendan Rodgers has always said he wants to progress Celtic every season in Europe, right? He said that when he came back. And last season felt like he'd taken a step, in that progression. He got his way in terms of getting Engels and Trusty and Eden, people like that. And he would argue, he was proved right because they had that relative success in the Champions League, and obviously they came close against Bayern Munich. So he'll be thinking, right, we need to get better again. The thing about that is, though, I'm not saying that they didn't get an easy draw last year in the Champions League, but it was fairly kind to them in terms of Bratislava, for instance, coming to Celtic Park. And that's not taking anything away for the good results they did get in the group phase. But the way this competition's set up now, the draw could be a nightmare for them this season. Yeah. I mean, you look at some of the draws clubs got last year. Leipzig was a work out for me last year.
Leipzig had a horror draw, didn't they?
PSG, Villa, Liverpool. I mean, it was incredible. So, as I say, the way this tournament's set up now, you can literally get anybody. It could be as tough, or as easy. You just don't know what you're going to get. And I think it'll be in the back of Rodgers' mind. If I get in with this squad, and it's an even tougher draw than last year, it's going to be so difficult to take that next step and try and progress them further. And that's the reason why he's here. And I think that's why he'll be getting frustrated. Obviously, the lack of business of it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, listen, having been at Bayern Munich last year after the game, he basically spelled it out. He said, "Look how close we are. Look at this performance over the two legs. How close we ran a top side in Europe at this knockout stage. We just need that wee bit more." And at the moment, he's been let down, and it's up to the people behind the scenes to back him in this next 12 days. It should have been done before now. There's no reason why it shouldn't have been done before now. They've got plenty of money in the bank. You look at Bruges last night, who I thought were really slick at Ibrox, a team that made 70 million quid in outgoings this summer, sold 70 million worth of talent. We saw them last year at Celtic Park. They were terrific. By the way, they kind of get robbed, by the way, in the one each draw. Celtic got a jail on that one. Ended up with a really good point. But they sold 70 million worth of talent, spent 50. Yeah. I mean, they go and buy £10 million players to replace guys that are sold for 25, 30.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't understand why Celtic can't be looking at that and saying, well, they're no bigger than Celtic or Rangers. I mean, Rangers are at the beginning of their new kind of their new setup, so they should be also looking at that and saying that's where we need to get to. And Celtic, I don't understand why they're already there. I mean, they're sitting. I mean, it'd be the most pointless exit from the Champions League if they go out this over these two ties with £7 million in the bank. It would be the most, ridiculous exit in history. Really would be. I mean, but literally entering the British Grand Prix, you've got a Ferrari in the garage and you jump in a Ford Fiesta. What is the point? What is the point?
Well, before we let you go, Mick, the Celtic fans in the comment section seem to be pretty confident. T1 says, I'm thinking 5-0, 5-1, something like that. Green Machine says a 2-0 win will do. Any more than that, we can talk about who will meet in the format. David Beattie says 4-0, no worries. And a cricket score apparently is on the horizon. You're sticking with your 4-0, Mick?
I'm going to stick with it, but as you know, my betting history isn't the most reliable. I think they'll win. I think if they can get 3 or 4, they'll be absolutely superb. I think that'd be a good result. A 2 you'd accept, but again, I think 3 or 4 would be the ideal result, and I think they will get there.
Scott, what's your thoughts for tonight's scoreline?
I'll stick with 3-0. I think it'll be 3-0. I think early goal crucial. 3 should be enough, as I says, to get them through. And I think Brendan Rodgers would be delighted with that, given everything we've said about the squad and maybe a wee bit of lack of depth. If we can get 3-0 in the first leg, I think they'll be really pleased with that.
Mick, I hope it's an absolute cracker for you. Thank you so much as ever for joining us on the Hotline Live.
No worries, boys. I'll get my factor 50 in a pie.
Enjoy, Mick.
I better not confuse them.
Thanks very much, Mick.
See you later, boys. Catch you later on.
Before we go any further, Scott, I think we can actually hear a little bit from Brendan Rodgers from his press conference ahead of tonight's game. Let's hear what he had to say.
To this game. There's been a report, I think, from down south yesterday saying that Jamie Vardy would be keen on a move to Celtic. He was maybe waiting out for a move to Celtic this summer. Is he someone that you'd like to work with again?
Listen, I would not speak about any individual player. Of course, I worked really well with Jamie. He was brilliant for me in my time at Leicester. So, but no, there's been so many names floated about. So, but I wouldn't disclose either way.
Brendan, you were hoping to strengthen the squad before tomorrow's game. Is that now possible? Is that, or are you going to have to go with the guys that you've got in the building just now?
Well, that's what I'm feeling at this moment in time. Yeah, so the players that we have will be the players that I trust that can do the job, and if we can get some players in before then that would be amazing. But the focus has been very much on what is here at this moment.
And the guys that you've got here, the experience, the European experience you've had, that must count for quite a lot in terms of these matches, but also the levels that you've reached with this kind of core group.
Yeah, I think that we gave a hint last season of what we can do when we improved the squad last year and went into the Champions League in a really good way. And so, as I said, we felt and showed what we can do at the level. And for me, the job is to keep trying to develop and at minimum sustain that. And for that, you need that constant improvement of your squad. So, but currently where this group's at, with what we have, the players are doing very, very well. Really focusing in on the training's been so good, been really intense, and that's allowed us to keep improving. So so we don't want to overthink this game. We know the magnitude of it. We know the consequence of it. However, it'll only look good for us if we play to the level that we want to play, and that's what we're focused on.
And if it goes the way that you're hoping and you do qualify, do you think then you'll get the strengthening that you're looking for? In other words, maybe it looks like they're waiting to see what the budget is, if it's Champions League budget or as you hope for or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We just play the game, and we'll see where we're at the end of the window.
Brendan, you mentioned there about kind of the players blocking out the noise. Is that the kind of one of the messages to the guys in the dressing room, that there's so much kind of chat at the minute about players coming in and out and about potentially what the club could make from getting to the Champions League? But I'd imagine from the players' point of view, you need to kind of block that out completely. Yeah,
I mentioned this a few weeks ago to the players. I think it's important to just set the narrative for them, because, like you say, there's so much noise, especially as it ramps up towards the end. And it can be, and I've been in enough changing rooms to know how stability can be lost in this moment, because some players will be thinking, are they staying, are they going? But in the midst of that, you've got really important games. So I've already mentioned this to players a number of weeks back, just about it is and respecting and acknowledging that it is a difficult part of the season. However, the money will be in your bank every month, and it'll be from Celtic. And whilst it is, you need to perform. So you don't need to worry about anything else. I respect and acknowledge that it can be tough, especially are you going to be here or are you not? But Celtic pay your wages, and while they do, you focus on doing the very best you can for Celtic. And then we start that process every day in training, being the very best that we can, pushing each other, demanding, and then we'll take that into the games. And in fairness to the players, they've been brilliant with that. You see it in their attitude in the game, the energy in the games. Been very, very good. So now we have to keep this going, and then, like I said, come the end of the window, that'll be then the squad for the rest of the season.
And again, I know there's obviously so much chat about signings, but do you feel the group that you have just now is Champions League?
Brendan Rodgers there, Scott. I mean, just to round up on Celtic, what Mick said there, it does seem faintly ridiculous that they're in this situation going into such a massive tie.
Yeah, it does a wee bit. With the manager almost pleading for more players, to help them when you know there's that money in the bank, and they've obviously had the success the last couple of years. But it always seems to be this way, Daniel, with Celtic. I feel as if we have this conversation most towards the end of the window, and I don't know. I don't maybe do a bit more Rangers than Celtic now, obviously. So, but certainly it feels like, as I say, the last few years, but you get to that last week in the window around that kind of sticky period, Champions League qualifiers, and it always feels like the manager at Celtic just wants more. He's just not quite getting backed as much as he would hope to get them through these ties. But I have to say, I love and I know the stuff was in the papers this morning. I just loved that line for Brendan Rodgers about the players and about the wages.
Aye.
Still being in the bank every month. I mean, it's a great line. I think it just shows you what he's about as a manager in terms of the demands that he puts on players and the standards that he sets. Just putting out a clear message that there's no excuse. Forget what's happening on the outside. Forget the noise. Forget transfer speculation. You're a Celtic player, and there's a massive game in front of 60,000 fans who fully expect you, to give 100% and get through and get them into the Champions League. I just thought it was a great message to put out there, just leaving the players in no doubt. Absolutely no excuses, whatever else is happening at the club. In
the comment section, Scott Singing the Blues says Celtic are playing Kairat Almaty, but last night at Ibrox I was thinking, Christ almighty, the Cup Rangers were dishing out. And Rangers Easy OK simply says, I'm in a foul mood. You were at Ibrox last night, Scott. I don't even know. I mean, look, I think even the most positive Rangers fan would have said, look, we could lose this game, this tie. But I think it was the manner in which the Bruges came out that really was startling.
100%. I mean, as you say, I think most people think the bookies in Bruges as favourites for the game. Having watched Bruges, as Mick touched on last year at Celtic Park, me personally, I knew how good a side they were. They showed glimpses of that in the friendly game as well. It's always hard to read too much into a friendly, but the game at Ibrox this summer, they proved what a good team they are. So, I mean, that side of it wasn't a surprise that Bruges were a really good side. You knew going into that game, Rangers would have to be at it, but they couldn't have been any further away if they'd been at it in the first 45 minutes. The standard of defending, obviously the first goal is a bit of a freak. It's a mix-up. It's a lack of communication. There's no excuse for it, but it was a bit of a freak goal. That puts them on the back foot. But I think more worryingly, Daniel, and I've said this a number of times, was that it's when something negative happens at Ibrox to this Rangers team, it's how they react. And for me, players, even new players who have been there a very short period of time, rather than puff the chest out and get their heads up and go and take a bit of responsibility and react well, too many of them in that first half just went into their shell. You could see them shrinking into that Rangers jersey, and that's been a problem obviously for a few years, and it's Russell Martin's job to try and fix it. And that, to me, that would be a worry, as I say, that 6 or 7 new players in that starting lineup, but their reaction was so poor. We've seen that reaction for Rangers teams going behind at Ibrox in recent years, and it's not good enough. And I think the other important thing is, Russell Martin spoke after the game and was praising of his players and what they did in the second half, in terms of showing a wee bit of resilience, a wee bit of character to get the goal and not lose any more goals. But I just think it's really important that second half can't mask or camouflage what happened in the first, because the first half's the more important. That's where the damage was done. The second half's different. Bruges are managing the game then, maybe taking their foot off the gas. That's what this Rangers team have become renowned for. They will react at some point and they'll run about a bit more and they'll have a wee flurry of activity, a flurry of urgency in a game. And you think, that was quite good, and you almost let them off with it. But they can't be let off with it. The first half was unacceptable. And if they go out in the Champions League, as we expect they will now, then they'll look back at that first half and think that was key. It doesn't matter about as I say, the kind of mini comeback in the second half where they get a goal and maybe could have got a second goal. The first half was shambolic. The defending was shambolic. And that's going to be a concern for them moving forward, especially after obviously what's happened in the 2 league games and over in Pilsen last week. When I know they had a good lead in the tie, but they were poor that night as well.
Yeah. Well, look, as you can probably imagine, Scott, it's got a very strong reaction from a lot of our viewers. Your Loyal Muppet says, pure shambles last night. Russell Martin must have been watching a different game. He's on thin ice. It's cracking as we speak. Sean says Bruges could have scored 3 in that second half as well. Luke says, I've had enough listening to Russell Martin. He doesn't half spout a load of verbal diarrhea. Last night's interview was his worst ever. I mean, what did you make of his post-match comments, Scott? I saw a lot of Rangers fans comment on that on social media.
I must admit, I did think it was overly positive about the performance. I'm not saying he should have come in and filleted the players. Of course not. Not after a Champions League game against a really good side. I mean, listen, I still think he was honest enough in his assessment of the first half and what went wrong, and the defending wasn't good enough, especially at the set piece goal. But I thought he can over-egged the second half performance a wee bit. As one of the viewers said there, Bruges had 2 or 3 chances in the second half as well. Jack Butland made a couple of good saves. And even Rangers, as I see, even their response, at the start of the half when they get the goal through Danilo, we were sitting there thinking, God, the crowd had actually got behind them again by that point, and you felt as if they could maybe go on and get a second and make it really interesting. But I didn't feel they done that particularly. I mean, I didn't feel they built up any kind of momentum or head of steam. They were better. They ran more. They had a bit more aggression, a bit more intensity about their play, a bit more tempo. But did it really mount to that much? I'm not sure. The one bright spot was Gassama, who I thought was outstanding for them.
Yeah.
And if you're coming away from the game looking for any kind of positive, he was undoubtedly it. And when I talk about mentality and players kind of shrinking into the jersey, he was the opposite. Talking about a 21-year-old French kid that they've got for Sheffield Wednesday, no real affiliation to Rangers or no knowing the kind of history of the club or whatever, but I just love his attitude, Daniel. I mean, even in the first half when Rangers were under Lacoche, he was the one saying, "No, give me the ball, I'll try and make something happen." And I thought in the second half, he took on real responsibility, showed real quality to go and take the game to Bruges, take on his man at every opportunity. He thinks he's got the second goal with brilliant kind of grit and determination. He's unlucky that it gets ruled out for a foul on the keeper. So he scored some big goals already for Rangers in Europe. I think he looks a brilliant find for them for the money they've paid. But just in terms of his attitude and his appetite, I think so many of these Rangers players, the new ones and old ones that have been there, could learn so much just for watching how he approaches the game. Because I think there's too few that have got that attitude. The
only other bright spot that I would put forward, Scott, is maybe Jayden Magoma. I mean, he comes in for his debut. He did 2 training sessions. I know everyone struggled in the first half, but I thought in the second half, obviously set up the goal. I thought he looks like he could be a player.
I think you're right. I almost felt sorry for him because, I mean, what a baptism for him. 24 hours after signing, roughly, maybe 48 hours after signing. But I think the 2 training sessions, to get thrown in for your debut and it'd be 3-0 down after 20 minutes. And look, I think defensively he had a tough time in the first half against Carlos Forbes, kind of Portuguese winger Brugge side. Thought he was very good. Magoma wasn't getting much help, for guys inside him. So it was a tough shift for him. But I agree with you. I thought on the ball he looked decent. I thought he was wanting to link up with Gassama on the left. I actually quite liked his attitude as well. There was one point in the game, I don't know if it would have come through on TV, but considering he's only in the door 2 days, but he had a right go at John Suter at one point for knocking him across and covering him with a kind of ball over the top. The two of them had a wee kind of, not an argument, but the two of them kind of had words with each other just before Magoma took the throw in. I quite liked that. He wasn't happy with Suter's kind of defensive cover. So, listen, it's early days for him. He's still a young boy. I think you're right. In the second half, he showed a bit more. His link up for Gassama was brilliant for the goal. Produces a great cross. I mean, he actually, in that kind of that moment, I think he did what Rangers fans were expecting Max Aarons to be doing on the other side, and he's just not done it yet.
Good point,
for one reason or another. So I think punters were maybe a bit underwhelmed by the Magoma signing. I think a lot of them are expecting that there'll be another left back coming through the door if obviously with Jeffrey going and Yilmaz potentially going as well. Probably need another left back, maybe a more experienced one. But I thought for a debut, given the circumstances and everything around it, Magoma actually did reasonably well, and Rangers will probably feel fairly confident that they'll be able to trust them on that left hand side, and certainly until they get a more experienced one in.
We've got some pretty strong comments, Scott, on Russell Martin, and I want to come to that in a little minute. But just, you mentioned there, Max Aarons. Look, I know James Tavernier has had his detractors. I know he's taken a lot of stick at times. There is no way, from what I've seen, Max Aarons is an upgrade on James Tavernier. No chance.
It doesn't look that way at the moment. I mean, I have to say, I kind of want to give Max Aarons a bit more time. I think he's struggling for confidence for whatever reason. Maybe going in at left back the first few games hasn't helped him because it's obviously not his natural position. I think I touched on it. I think the thing that surprised people, myself included, is that everything you'd read about Max Aarons was that he was going to be this marauding right back. No, it was going to overlap, link up with his wide man and get crosses in and just be really dynamic and athletic. And we've just not seen that yet. I mean, I don't know if it's the system Russell Martin plays. He likes to almost kind of build with a 3 at the back. And one of the fullbacks kind of goes, and normally has Aarons that kind of goes into that 3 and tries to build. But even when he gets the ball, Daniel, and this is what I mean about lack of confidence, it looks at the moment like his first thought is always to try and go back away or inside, rather than just turn his body and go forward. No, the way obviously Tavernier did in his pomp. Look, I think ultimately Russell Martin wants Max Aarons to be his right back. I mean, he's only a loan player at the moment, so it's just for this season we're talking. And that's another issue for the manager, is that 3 of the back 4 last night are loan signings. I mean, I don't really know how that works in terms of kind of long-term planning, but I think he wants Aarons in there as his right back. He trusts him. He's obviously known him a long time. I think Tavernier's getting on. He's certainly not the player that he was, but I think you're right at the moment. Certainly, I'm looking ahead to Sunday, go to St Mirren, an absolutely massive game for the manager. I think I'd probably trust Tavernier more, to get into a game like that and produce something for you. So whether that means he's the right back, Magoma left back, I'm not sure, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me if Tavernier comes back in at the weekend.
Your loyal Muppet in the comments backs it up, says Aarons has no experience, hardly playing before. Same with Giga. We need more experienced players at Rangers with a long-term future. I need to bring up Russell Martin now, Scott. I mean, Luke in the comments says, Go Fund already started to get rid of Russell Martin, and that's probably the kindest comment we've got. Philip's written in saying, it's really time for Russell Martin to be sacked. I said in the hotline the other day that there was no way we would beat Club Brugge with any of the players we've got, and we could say goodbye to the Champions League. I was right, our team is garbage. Russell Martin's style of play is also garbage. We will never win a league or a trophy with the players we've got. There is no chance we'll beat Celtic on the 31st. Scott says the new owners at the club have made a big mistake with this guy. The fans said when he was appointed, he played slow, unattractive, boring football. They have to admit they were wrong. And just finally, Scott says, as a Rangers fan, I honestly don't think we'll make the top 6 this season. I've seen both male and female school teams better organised than Martin can organise Rangers. It's clear and obvious at this early stage that Martin is not a manager going places. And given more time, I think he will take Rangers to oblivion. Now, look, I know it's not been great, Scott, right? But it's the 20th of August. I mean, this to me just seems way over the top, way too soon. I mean, Russell Martin after the game last night talked about the precursor to progress is pain. I don't know. I feel this is a wee bit too soon to be asking for him to be sacked.
Look, they're not going to sack the guy in August or September. But I wouldn't have thought. I'd be amazed at that. However, Russell Martin said the day he was appointed, Daniel, it was a key line in his unveiling. He said that he understands that he has to try and build something, try and change things at Rangers like culture and mentality, but he understands he has to do it while winning at the same time.
Yeah,
that's the key thing that he said at his press conference. And right now, he said 8 competitive games and he's only won 3. He's not won a league game yet. No, drawn, failing to beat Motherwell and Dundee in the opening two games. That's no good enough. And that's no me saying that. That's Russell Martin said that it had to win while building this and while changing, and that hasn't happened yet. So he must know that he's no delivering on that score. Patrick Stewart said the same thing. So the executive and the owners know that as well. There's no doubt. The bottom line is this Martin team isn't as far on in their development and progression as he would have liked at this stage, and it is still relatively early. But I think in terms of what they're producing, he would have been expecting more at this point. So I think they're behind in that regard. And in terms of the style, listen, it's hard to disagree because a lot of Rangers, or most Rangers fans, didn't approve of the Russell Martin appointment at the start, so he was always going to be up against it. So he had to give them something early to cling on to. He had to show them something early that the fans could really buy into and get behind. And he would probably argue, but I just don't think his team have done that so far. I don't think there's enough. Punters aren't daft. They're no stupid. I mean, they've been in this movie before. They've seen lots of managers come and go. They need something. You think back to the Postecoglou start at Celtic. We've mentioned that a lot of times. No, he had a difficult first kind of 8 weeks at Celtic. I
think he lost 3 of his opening 6 games, eh?
That's right. Losing to I think lost to Rangers, Hearts and Livingston early on. But even then, Daniel, I think if you ask Celtic fans, they could see something. So I always remember, I think they lost to Hearts in the opening day.
Aye.
Obviously, they'd struggled in Europe against Midtjylland. And Celtic fans, obviously, similar to Russell Martin, probably didn't want Ange Postecoglou at the beginning. But see, after the Hearts game, they went and beat Dundee 6-0 at Celtic Park, absolutely murdered Dundee that day. And suddenly fans go, right, this is what he's trying to do. This is what it's meant to look like. And there was another couple of wee bumps. They went to Ibrox and lost. I think they lost to the Livy away. But just gradually, the fans could see development and progression. I just don't think that's happened. I don't think there's been enough of that at Rangers. I don't think the new players that have come in, no enough of them have shown the fans. And I know it's still early, but they had to show more. They had to give fans a bit of encouragement, a bit of optimism. Yeah. and it just hasn't happened yet. And that's why the manager, even at this stage, is under pressure. I'm not saying he's under pressure for his job at this point, but I mean, I'm looking Sunday away to St Mirren.
Oh, huge game now.
Really tough, massive game. Anything less than victory will be unacceptable for the Rangers fans. The following week at Celtic, before the international break, the potential of going 10 points behind the league, which is just unthinkable in the first week in September. And even when last night, when I was there, and obviously it's the atmosphere's toxic. There's real vitriol coming down for the stands. Booed off at half time, booed off at full time. Rangers' next 3 home games are Celtic, Hearts, and then Hibs in the League Cup quarter final.
That's tough.
There's honestly, I mean, if this doesn't change very quickly, it could get really messy for the manager and these players. If the players don't stand up and the manager doesn't find a way to win or start winning games, then it could very quickly unravel for him. No, that wouldn't be nice to see, but that's just the pressure you're under. I mean, you just can't. Well, you can't go out to the Champions League and lose your first Old Firm game and go 10 points behind. I get that it needs a bit of time, and as you say, there's going to be a bit of pain. But I go back to Russell Martin's comment. He said it himself. He understood going into the job. He had to try and build and change, but at the same time, he had to win. And so far, that hasn't happened.
Well, in the comments, Rangers Easy OK on the pain thing, I think makes a good point. Says, how can you sell that to support who've suffered so much in the past? I mean, Russell Martin said that himself. 14 of the last 15 years, they haven't won a title. And on the winning, Scott says, find a way to win. He said, and he isn't. Which I mean, I think kind of says it all.
Exactly. And look, I think the other thing I'd say is that I've mentioned it in a piece for tomorrow. I mean, he wants to change the culture and change the mentality, and I think that's right. And I think it's a massive job and a tough job at Rangers. The size of that club, and as you say, we're getting close to 15 years, minus 1 or 2 seasons, where it's been really kind of synonymous with failure and a lack of trophies. So to change all of that, to change that culture is really difficult. But Daniel, I think to do that, right from the start, you had to bring in real leaders, new voices in the dressing room to initiate that change, to foster a new spirit and a new mentality.
Yeah.
Whether that's down to Russell Martin or the sporting director, the recruitment team, I'm not sure, but that hasn't happened either. He's talking about a leadership group with guys like James Tavernier, Jack Butland, John Souttar, Kieran Dowell. These guys, that's the same leadership group that's been there for the last 4 years when Celtic have been winning titles. Yeah. And that's not having a pop at them. But if you're going to flip that and going to change it and suddenly go in a different direction, I think there has to be new voices in there. And I don't see. I'm talking about Gassama's character and his attitude and his personality in terms of what he does on the pitch. But you're not really expecting a 21-year-old French boy to come in and start leading the dressing room. I'm talking about right from the start. Rangers had to go out and sign proper leaders, proper experience, and there's a couple of guys out there that I think would have helped that. I'll get slaughtered again, but Lawrence Shankland I think would have been one of them. A no-brainer for me on a free transfer. Rangers need a striker, still need a striker. That would have been an easy one for me. Captain of Hearts, go and take one of Hearts' best players off them the way Rangers used to do when they were winning stuff years ago. And the club haven't done that. They've decided to go down a different road, and it's proven to be really difficult for them.
Just before we wrap up, Scott, the Green Machine says if Hibs beat Rangers in the Cup, then you're talking about Martin going back down south. Your Lawyer Muppet says he's got 3 games to save his job. I mean, look, again, I'll say it, I might get slaughtered for this as well. I think that's way too premature. But you probably know better than me, Scott. I mean, do you think that's premature?
It is, but there's just no getting away from how big the next kind of 11 days are for him, in terms of the St Mirren and the Celtic game. And look, if it goes pear-shaped, I think they'll get rid of him at that point. No, I agree with you. I think it's still far too early, and would be pretty unfair if you've kind of sold it to him that it's going to be he's going to get time for this kind of long-term project. However, at what point, Daniel, does it become untenable? How many points do they need to go behind? Some of the viewers there are saying, kind of half joking about not making the top 6. I mean, listen, I think me or you could manage them, probably still get into the top 6. But it's if suddenly second place becomes a debate, with a Hearts
We're already 4 points behind Hearts.
Do you know what I mean? If that becomes a debate, that's not where Rangers. That's not where Rangers want to go. It's not where the new owners want to go. I talked about what Patrick Stewart and Russell Martin said when they came in. When the owners came in, they said their number one target was to be the number 1 team in Scotland again, and they wanted to do it quickly. So I'm sorry, but I mean, you're not going to do that if you're 10 points behind. Come September, October. So it's going to. The next few weeks are really, really tough for them, and we're going to find out. Really, I mean, people have got their doubts already, but we're really going to find out what these players and Russell Martin are made of. Look, there might be another couple come in before the window. A couple of experienced leaders might come in. I'm convinced that's what Russell Martin wants to happen. Whether he'll get that wish or not, I'm not sure. That might change it, but there's no doubt in the next few weeks it's going to be a real acid test for them with these games coming up.
Aye, absolutely. And we'll be here to cover it all, Scott, on the Hotline Live and Record Sport Online. I think that brings us to the end of tonight's Hotline Live. Thank you so much to everyone watching for all your comments. Massively appreciate it. It's the heartbeat of the show. So thank you very much. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. To look back on Celtic's game tonight, and of course to look ahead to Europa League games, Aberdeen and Hibs as well. Scott, it's always a pleasure.
Top man. Cheers, Daniel.
Cheers, Scott. And thank you very much for watching at home. Cheers.